Chema. After the glory of the Divine Mother, we share something about her beautiful child, which is the soul in us. But even before we come to the soul and its life, we can see for ourselves that there are in us at least 3 layers on which we live, 3 kinds of existences. And in the course of life's journey, they unfold one after another. The first, which we are all aware of, is a life of the senses. We are driven by the senses, as a wild horse driving a chariot without knowing where is the destination. It goes where it sees the grass. That's its life. So this life is more akin to the early animal life, but it prolongs in man, obviously. And it's driven by the senses in a seeking for pleasure, avoiding pain. So it's a life of pleasure and pain. If something happens which is according to our liking, we feel happy and there's a lot of pleasure in it. And then if something which we don't like, it's pains. So this is the average base, the lowest common multiple, base substratum of human life. And if this were all, there would be no hope, frankly. But God has plans. So out of this life of the senses, there evolves another layer of life. The life of the thinking creature, which actually, to be worthy of being called a human being, this should at least come up. Because if we are living only the life of the senses, we are like, more or less like, of course, a little more capable animal, in certain ways capable, in many ways not so capable. So out of this there evolves a mental life, a life where thought tries to make sense of the experiences. It doesn't stop with the experience of pleasure and pain, but it wants to understand what this is about. And for that it reads books, it meets people, it turns to invisible gods, it connects with religion, it tries to understand philosophy. So it develops. There's a long period. It experiments, it explores, and so on and so forth. And because the mind is much vaster than the physical existence, it is a long journey through the mental passage. And there are several layers of this journey. We need not talk about that because the focus is the soul. But a point comes when within this layer, one begins to become conscious of a third layer. This also, almost all of us experience. And this third layer is more of the nature of a seeking for an ideal, for truth, for good, for beauty. Actually, if we look at it in one sense, even in the life of senses, we are still looking for that. Beauty of form, truth of the bodily life which does not perish, same thing. Still, even in ignorance, we are looking for that. But slowly as we grow through experience, and this layer which is deep within begins to become more and more active, more and more conscious, because it seeks truth, good and beauty. It seeks for ideal love, for perfect happiness, for a God who does not fail us. And then life begins to become terrible. Because before this aspiration, we have practiced with a limited existence. We know that's how it is. Eat, drink and be merry, enjoy, party, fun, that's it. So in a way, this higher seeking brings its own Each level where it emerges, it brings a certain disequilibrium. The thinking man creates a disequilibrium in the life of the sensory human being, because now the mind must control, master. It's a fellow which wants but does not know how. It is seeking. It tries to control, master the sensory life till a point comes when a fully developed thinking man is born. And what is its sign? Its sign is that the mind and the buddhi, the intellect, is able to control and master the life of the senses. It does not mean depriving it, it does not mean stifling it, but it means that now I am not under the control of my senses, but the senses and the sensory life of pleasure and pain is in my control. It means that if I feel hungry and I get to know there is a very fine food there, I don't start running, let's go. I give it a thought and then we take an action. So, fully developed mentalized man is a moral, ethical, disciplined, controlled man, not disciplined the way we understand, not morality imposed from outside. He develops his own ethics. He develops his own sense of right and wrong, which is very different from the social, legal and religious rules of life. So when that happens, it's the fully developed thinking man. But again, if this were all, life would move within a limited framework. In Indian thought, it's the sattvic man, the cultured, the refined, all these are shades of this same layer of humanity. But then he begins to seek, is there a stable ground of something? Is there an, as we read that wonderful phrase, the undying truth, that which does not perish, because one begins to become aware that whatever you may have in life, it is like the sunlight, you can bask in it, the moment you catch it, it's gone. That's how they say, that if you hold it, somebody described love, said love is like the drop of water on a lotus leaf. So you keep your hand like this, there is the drop, this love. You hold it and the water goes out. Possess it, try to possess it, it goes. So this tussle, so one starts looking for ideal love, flawless happiness, perfect truth, because that's the experience which comes. It begins to feel a strangeness in the life of the senses as it is. It begins to feel the sense of inadequacy in the life of the mind as it exists. There are many dilemmas which the mind cannot solve. The Gita that's the starting point of the Gita. It starts with a conflict with a sattvic man, rajo sattvic, but with a predominant sattvic man, cannot solve. This is the conflict of justice and the sense of the family and belongingness. He does not know how to solve it, and there are many such conflicts which human beings experience which the mind cannot solve. And I could go on naming. There are plenty. We all know it. So what we do is we find some kind of a midway, compromise, this way, that way. But there is something in us which continues to seek, and it begins to grow. It begins to influence the mind. Now see the role reversal. First the sensations rule, then the mind comes in. There is a conflict, fight, battle, but then the mind rules the senses, a developed thinking man. Then the inmost life, will not use a term, and this we may use the word nascent spiritual life. So it finds inadequacy in everything that the mind tries to tell it. Religion is inadequate, philosophy is inadequate, my own thinking and its results are inadequate. So what does it do? So initially it is at the mercy of the mind and the senses. Slowly it begins to master the mind and the senses. That's when true spiritual life begins, because before that still philosophy and religion in which the mind is circling. So when it begins, something very strange happens. We begin to seek something which does not exist to the mind and the senses. It does not exist. Now this is strange. Where does the seeking come from? We begin to seek it. And this seeking, at the core, if we go, there is even a certitude and a faith. That's why we are seeking. Why would one seek? And if you look at this seeking of man, and we can, as I said, we can take it in two simple examples. One is, when the new child comes, he is at the mercy of the parents. He is at the mercy of the teachers. But when the child grows, the parents listen to the child. So, when this psychic life, this spiritual life, nascent comes, it is the mercy of the mind. It's still at the mercy of the senses. Something in us seeks, but friend calls, hi, sale. I don't know in America they have sale or not. Sale is going on. Is it? I had to go for, satsang. Okay, we'll do it. Satsang we can do every day. Sale is a limited offer. This is how in the beginning it goes. Baby is helpless, no? The child is driven. So if parents are going for the sale, come, sit down. The child can't say, I don't feel like, you better sit and we are going for sale. He begins to enjoy all the things, whether he enjoys or not. So in the beginning, the nascent spiritual life is completely under but it is beginning to grow. The child will grow. Not just into the man and the mother and the father, but something more. So slowly, it's beginning to grow. So it begins to look at life very differently. It begins to seek something, and behind that seeking is faith. And that's where we can take the other example. People often say proof of the soul. There are plenty of it, even in the book Death, Dying and Beyond, my book, I have spoken about it. But just one single thing. Take an opinion poll, and we can do it right now. We can do it with any group of humanity in the world. Educated, literate, there is a difference between the two, of course, and whatever else, and wherever, in whichever country, whichever state, county, and we ask them few simple questions. Do you want peace or do you want agitation? Do you want love or do you want hate? Do you want wisdom or do you want ignorance? Do you want strength or do you want weakness? What do you think will be the answers as far as the want is concerned? Do you want happiness or do you want sorrow? We can add. Want will be the same, isn't it? Everybody is wanting it. God knows why. But when you see the life he is leading and you say, look here, you want love, isn't it? Yes, but you're quarreling. It's not my fault. She is quarreling. I wish I had someone who would not quarrel. Go find such a model, doesn't exist. Human nature. So there is the two aspects of spiritual life. One is individually and the second is collectively. We want that thing in the world. But the world is too huge to handle. So it starts with an individual seeking. Okay. So as it seeks and grows, eventually it touches something, sees a glimpse, feels something, and this has nothing to do with typical understanding of spiritual life, that I went to an ashram and suddenly I had an aha feeling. It may, but God is everywhere. You may be standing before a mountain, as Vladimir's experience, falling down from a mountain or running down and falling. Sri Aurobindo say that, he makes her fall a means to greater rise. Or you are suddenly, caught up in a traffic jam and you are looking and suddenly you enter into another world, or you are simply walking on a road. It was one of my first experiences, not first, but walking on a road thinking we are going to watch a movie, nice movie in the Air Force mess. But deep within, there was something else going on parallel. Is God there? Is he there? If he's there, why doesn't he reveal himself? And suddenly there is such a descent of peace that I am totally drowned in it, and trucks which are narrow road, which are coming nearby, seem kilometers away. And this gets contaminated into my wife also. And she becomes silent, I become silent. Movie becomes like we are watching ourselves as a film. What interest you will take in that cinema? Don't feel like eating, no hunger, everything gone. So, what is the moment that divine chooses for his disclosure? Walking on the road. What was the plan? To go and enjoy a nice meal in the mess and watch a movie, and he is the eternal spoil sport who spoiled. And that was a very good movie, and I never watched it. So he is like that. Where does the Gita get revealed? In Kurukshetra. So, but one thing we can notice in all these experiences, he reveals himself at a moment. It is not about a place, it's not about time, but at a moment when there is the sudden surge of seeking. It could be anywhere, this has changed lives of people. I know personally, and you know the story of Kalidas and how his life changed, how God came suddenly when his wife rebuked him. You idiot. See, even those days, people, this idea, feminism was there in India very strongly. So his wife tells him, you idiot, you cheat, you scoundrel, you feigned to be a knowledgeable person, but I know you are a stupid man. Get out of the house. So he goes humiliated. Now you see the way we can understand divine working. It's a known story, it's a true story. I'm not, in Kalidas' age, long back, King Vikramaditya, the golden age of India, some 3,000, 4,000, 3,200 years back or something. So he goes, that time what does he do? He says, I'll commit suicide. My wife has humiliated me so much. But behind that suicide, there is this constant going on. I don't know, why am I so stupid? Why am I such an idiot? I wish God made me intelligent. No, it's better to commit suicide. See, now two things are going on simultaneously. And then suddenly, as the story goes, Kali Ma appears. That's how his name comes, Kalidas. And she says, my child, because he was marked out for a scheme. He says, my child, you can develop intelligence. What is there? You said, look at this rope which goes in. He was wanting to jump in a well, which goes on the stone-like well, and it creates a mark. So with effort, everything is possible. And if the grace is there, then nothing is impossible. That's how he becomes one of the three most important writers. Sri Aurobindo speaks of that. That just these three names, Vyasa, Valmiki and Kalidas, he ranks them among the highest writers of all times. And he writes about sensuous beauty and makes it heavenly and divine. We know another story. See how God's ways, this just to how this psychic life can. Initiation is not when you do a formal act, you go into a ashram and everybody is sitting, now Guruji will initiate me with a Guru mantra. No, that's the technological way we look at it. How does Tulsidas gets initiated? He loves his wife like a madman, and unfortunately no mobile those days. He is missing her like anything. She has gone to in-laws' place and he rushes. River is in spate. He goes swimming and there is a snake hanging from her room through the window. And the fellow is so love-mad that he climbs and jumps into the window, and his wife has her. What? Wakes up at night. What? He says, I miss you. I really miss you. I can't tell you how much I miss you. Now you wake up a woman at 2 o'clock, comfortably sleeping, and you start saying, I miss you. Maybe she like, but equally she may say, okay, but... So she says, you know what? If only you could love the Lord like this, no, He would have revealed Himself to you. You're such a fool. She was angry basically. And that becomes his initiation mantra. If only I could love the Lord like this. Really I am a fool? It's not my wife speaking, it's God speaking to me. So he goes and he writes one of the most wonderful treatise on the life of Sri Rama, Ramcharitmanas. Valmiki's moment of initiation. See how it can come. These are important because we keep saying how initiation in Sri Aurobindo's yoga. This idea of Guruji coming and giving the Diksha is a very, very modern idea. Seeking is the initiation. So he's a robber. He's a murderer. And one of the sages catch him and ask him, why are you killing? He says, well, I kill for my family. He says, go ask your family, you are incurring a very grave crime and are they willing to share the consequences? He says, of course they will. And he goes and asks, he says, no, they say, that's your job description, our job is to enjoy. He said, now I am so distraught, what do I do? So he says, nothing, you just, in today's times, the most wonderful, powerful name is the name of Lord Ram. You do japa of his name and you will change, you will grow. He said, when I speak, I only say Mara. Mara means to kill. I can't say Rama. So he said, doesn't matter, you say Mara. This story Sri Aurobindo quotes in either Bande Mataram or early cultural writings. So Valmiki Ratnakar dacoit, he starts Mara, 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 Ram, 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 Ram. So Mara becomes Ram, 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 Ram. And as the story goes, and Sri Aurobindo writes about it, Ulta Naam Japa Jag Jana Valmiki Bhe Brahma Samana. He couldn't even recite the name of God, but he became one with Brahman. Now, this story is a pointer. We keep saying, what is the correct method? What is the correct technique? How should I sit? Am I bolt straight? Am I fine? All this spiritual engineering. So we get another clue. Along with seeking, love for the divine, love for God. This develops at a point of time. Concentration on the divine. For him it was the name. Could be any name, doesn't matter. It goes on to say any name or form to that extent that even if you remember your son, but with that idea, you worship a stone with that idea. So that concentration, anything on which, so spiritual life is nourished by concentration on the divine. And if we cannot concentrate inwardly, concentrate externally. Look at the photographs. Sri Aurobindo spoke of that you look into the photograph of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Somebody asked that I am in Bombay, I am very far, I can't come to the ashram. So when I sit, I may look at photographs of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, your and the Mother. Is it okay? He says, yes, absolutely you can do it. There is no need to come here. You will develop all that is necessary for the yoga. Or we can concentrate while reading their books. We are coming in contact with the divine. Or we can simply concentrate calling the name within. Yoga is actually very, very simple. It's we who have made it very complicated, particularly we speakers. Somehow we are still philosophers, not yogins. And therefore we confuse everybody because we are confused, honestly. I'm talking of we as a species, okay? Such big things, it's so simple. Let the spiritual life develop. And after some time, this takes over. The mind stops finding interest in things which normally it was enjoying. The same books which it enjoyed, picked up a book and read some novel, it stops taking enjoy. Why? Because this is the sign that that baby is developing now. The life of the senses, friends, partying, it drops off. Quite naturally, it's effortlessly. One doesn't have to do, oh my God, I'm not supposed to do this. If this is the thought, we are not really into it. It's not a mental thing that, oh, I am not supposed to do this, I am supposed to do this. You lose interest. Because now this other fellow is just like when child grows up in the house, parents start taking interest in smart mobiles, because they can't help it, no? They have to understand something. So they begin to take interest. So this child begins to, and slowly the mind, heart they begin to change. This is the true landscape of spiritual life. So we have these three layers. Quite understandably, such an evolution cannot take place in one lifetime. That's why I keep saying, if the moment you say, if I'm saying that there is a soul, let's say. Now we have talked about it that well, even rationally we can see the seeking is there and there are many other the experiences. And as I said, look for those unusual moments. Suddenly, aha feeling. And many of us who have come here, I'm sure, have gone through our own aha moments in most unexpected ways. Because God has something very beautiful. He loves, the unexpected moment. You see? That's what I keep saying, that yes, I agree, whether love marriage or arranged marriage, at the end of the day, it's all the same. It depends on your resilience, your capacity to sacrifice, evolve. But there is something which love brings, the sense of the unexpected. Suddenly the heart opens. Now you see, divine operates. By the way, this is Sri Aurobindo describes this in Savitri. So it describes that moment just like love. Unexpected moment. So divine has this joy because he's everywhere. He can pick up any moment of a life. And suddenly the heart turns. This cannot happen in one life. And if we don't bring in several lives, then we will end up dividing humanity forever into two types, condemning one, damned to eternal hell, and raising the other as, because one life you see, it doesn't work out. There are people who hold their life, they will, keep on mocking spiritual things. Some mad people go to Pondicherry and listen to more mad people. It's okay, it's not their fault. They are not sinners. An animal cannot understand computer and poetry. He's not bad guy. Poor fellow, don't try to do it. If you do it, he will get totally confused. He will lose even his normal instincts. Don't try to tell poetry to a dog. He is actually waiting for his share of meal. You can try it as an experiment, it's okay. In ashram we had Medhananda, you must be knowing. He was doing experiment on chimpanzees. It's very interesting. There is a place like that. And how mother brought in all kinds of people. And I have been there and you see cobras are there in that garden and chimpanzees. What was he trying? How about evolution? Whatever. He was very interesting story. See how God comes. This interesting story. So he's on one of the islands. I'm forgetting which one. The British was living on one of the islands. And enjoying life, and somebody comes and comes to stay, and while going, he is giving away some books, and because whatever reason. So he just says, "Do you want this book?" He said, "Give me, what is the book? Anyways, I'm here, I'll read something." So he gives him this book. And this book is The Mother. Small booklet, The Mother by Sri Aurobindo. It changes his life. Another person who is in the ashram, enjoying life, drinking, meat, everything. And his wife is a devotee, and all that his good deed was that he never stopped her from coming to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. And one day he has to take a train from one place to another, and he tells her, "Can you give me some book to read? I am not carrying some magazine." And she passes on again the same book, The Mother. He doesn't know. He thinks he is carrying a book, but the book is going to carry him for the rest of his life. So he starts. He opens, sitting in the train. He says, "What is this book she has given me, The Mother?" And in that journey, his life changes completely. See, this is how spiritual life operates, not through a fixed format, not by putting people in slots. In Devasuri Sampada, in chapter 16 of the Gita, S is on the Gita, Sri Aurobindo says that we should not take it that there are some who are devas, some who are asuras. He says there is man by birth is an asura. By conversion he becomes a deva type. It's plain speak. Who is the asura? The asura is somebody who is happy, devouring, selfish fellow. That's an asura. But intellectual, studied in Harvard, JNU, very brilliant apparently, but his appetites, the same passions are there. He is eyeing on he may be a brilliant fellow. That's an asura. Rakshasa is not brilliant, he is a crude fellow. That's the difference. Animal is a good fellow. He is what he is. So if you see the gradation, Indian thought describes 10 evolutionary gradations. Sri Aurobindo writes that in Records of Yoga. Pashu, then Vanara. Vanara we see in Ramayana. Vanara is a beautiful being, He can evolve into the animal, human, or he can evolve into the Rakshasa. They're the simple human beings with, a lot of beauty inside, maybe restless. And then the Vanara, and then he speaks of the Rakshasa, the Asura, the human, the Deva. So all this, it cannot be possible in one life. The moment we speak of the soul and its evolution, which Vedanta speaks about, soul is not static, it is evolving. Then rebirth becomes a logical necessity. So what is the Vedantic idea of soul evolution? Pretty much what we have been talking about. Soul is the seed of the divine. It will discover the aspect of the divine which it is meant to express, though the neo-Vedantist now use a shortcut. So hamasmi, you will become God, you are God. It's not as simple as that. You first discover each soul is a spark of the divine, but it is meant to express something of the divine truth. Something like each tree is a tree, and yet there is a difference between the trees. That's how the variations come. Through Swabhava and Swadharma. That's a different subject altogether. It expresses something of the divine, and it'll go through those experiences. A warrior soul will go through all kinds of injustices, challenges in life. The soul of love will go through all kinds of, deceptions, snares, hurts, because it has to bring out its highest potential. So on and so forth. So this evolutionary journey starts with when man is only conscious of the physical world and not at all aware of a soul within, yet it is there. Then through lives he becomes a little more adventurous. Then he begins to become conscious of this something within, not as a soul, but as its reflection in the mind, as an ideal world, ideal seeking, and then he begins to seek directly to the source, and then it connects to the source, and this takes place through many lives. That's the Vedantic idea of evolution. But Sri Aurobindo adds to it that, the soul discovered that it is representing something of the divine. Then what next? Merger? Then this whole journey is an absurdity. Because the seed was cast in the end to merge back and finish. It must blossom, flower, and bring out fruits of the divine sacrifice. So the next level is when it discovers its innate divinity, then it wants to express it in life, in relationships, in its work, in its job, in its activities, in its speech, in its silence, in everything. So that's where it discovered that, though inwardly one is aware, but the instruments are unable to bear it. That's the challenge of evolution and transformation. It's very good to know about supermind is beyond the overmind. But see what happens the moment we read something of Sri Aurobindo, the mind is going into nobody's fault. It's a good sign, means things are really coming from somewhere. So this is because mind is unable to contain. It's not ready. If somebody asks, for example, many of us here, Sri Aurobindo, he is our, most of us here, I'm sure all of us. But if somebody suddenly asks, tell us about Sri Aurobindo and the mother, it will be so difficult. We'll fumble, we'll mumble, we'll say something, we don't know what to say. It's not because there is no genuineness inside, completely genuine, maybe very genuine. But the instrument of expression, see, that's where Sri Ramakrishna, when Swami Vivekananda comes to him, then he is Narendra, young boy. So Sri Ramakrishna says, you have come. I was waiting for you. waiting for me? I have come to ask a question. I am a skeptic. He said, I know. Come, I'll answer all your questions. He says, you are the Shakti through which my teachings will go into the world. Something to that effect. And that's why when somebody asked Vivekananda, oh, you're so wonderful, so wonderful. He says, you don't know my Guru. He can create thousands of Vivekanandas like me. So this is how each of us has to become something of the divine Shakti, a center, a nucleus. And it's no easy task. So there is evolution, spiritual evolution takes place in two layers. One is discovering who we truly are, the psychic being, the portion of the divine. And the second is manifesting, which is called, one is spiritual evolution, the Vedanta, and the spiritual transformation. Now the instrument have to be molded. And what is the best way to mold them is to put them in use. That's why work and service is so important in Sri Aurobindo's yoga. Because you can't become a warrior if you every day worship your talwar, your sword. There are some people who do that. Oh, my Nanaji's sword. Worshipping it. The man cannot even lift it. So the instruments have to be perfected. Without it, there cannot be a perfect world or divine world. It's not enough to realize that I am God. Well, this can be very misleading if misunderstood. But nevertheless, deep within, this is our truth. But instruments are not ready to manifest, so I'll end up quitting the world and, well, this world is Maya or whatever, it cannot. But here Sri Aurobindo says, no, even this human nature is itself, just like the soul is fallen from that divine heights, so too this nature has fallen from a divine supernature. And this too can be upgraded, should be upgraded. It has nurtured us, nourished us. All the experiences of life, the so-called good, the so-called bad, nourish the soul within. It converts it into an experience. Another example we can take of everyday life. When a 16-year-old goes through a heartbreak, 16-year-old is a very interesting word. So when somebody asks somebody's age, as a doctor, very unfortunately I have to ask even ladies' age. I can't help it, I have to ask their age. So I don't ask, tell me your age. I tell them, how old are you? 16 plus how many years? That's 16 plus. See, 16 when you have a heartbreak, your world shatters. Isn't it? When you have a 20 years heartbreak, after the 16-year one, you are a little bit prepared. When you have it at 24 years, you say, oh, I can handle it. At 30, maybe you celebrate. You're waiting. And this fellow will go away. He's just not doing anything. He's sticking on to me. But at 60, when you look back, and the little one, 16-year-old comes and says, Mama, I'm going through a heartbreak. You say, oh child, you'll be okay. And what has happened now to that painful experience? It's changed into strength, wisdom and delight. It's changed into strength, you can handle it. It changes into wisdom, you understand. It's not that somebody is bad, somebody rejected you, you are bad. No. That's how things are, human nature, its limitations of love, all this you understand. So you are a lot more generous. Even to use the word forgiving, you understand simply. And sometimes reconnect. All these things. And then you also grow, you become stronger, you become wiser, and you develop a delight. Because you have seen through it, you know that all these experiences ultimately. That's why there's a very interesting saying. When I saw it somewhere, I loved it. It's a very profound truth. When Mama says no, anyone knows to complete it? Go to Grandma. When mama says no, go to grandma. Grandma's experience is she tells her son and daughter, look here, you were also like that, much worse. So through this journey, we gather coins of wisdom, strength and delight. That's why Sri Aurobindo tells us, maybe if somebody has the poem, the Rishi, last line, he says, cease not from life, cease not from love, cease not from... There is a joy in this journey. We don't understand. There are people who run away, want to run away from challenges. And its extreme thing is that I have gone to a monastery and I met somebody in one of the ashrams and he said, I am doing sadhana. I said, very good. And good, you are in the ashram, you are supposed to. He said, I had, I left my wife behind with 6 children and looked very proudly at me. I said, I'm sorry, she is doing the sadhana and you seem to be enjoying life in the ashram. I said, this is this idea, you are escaping. If you don't come in contact with the world currents, you cannot evolve. This is the law. Whoever tries to do it. So in Sri Aurobindo ashram, very interestingly, that's why Sri Aurobindo first of all would not take very young people. He would want at least 24, 25. Many generally prefer 30. That's a good age when you are by and large seen a little bit. But if people came, they went through those experiences exactly what you have in worldly life. Because this division must go. What is this world? It's concealed divinity. It comes through the world, the divine comes wearing the mask of terror. And we shrink. No, he'll push you. That terror will go into your home. You hide inside a hole, he will stand over the hole, putting hot water or oil inside to come out. Till one day you say, okay, I'll face the danger. Who are you? The moment you do that, then little bit behind the mask, you will feel the divine smile. Then we discover the true unity. You divide the world into this. What is the world? It's concealed God. And then slowly we grow in, because when we come in contact, that's how we grow. So this is the journey taking place through many lives. For God's sake, it is not papa and punya and good and evil and punishment and reward. God is not a super CEO busy with, with his some Mr. Chitragupta and company. Chitragupta is subconscious. Chitragupta, he is a hidden camera, noting everything. He has a different job description. We should not meddle with. But what is God? What is he busy doing? Not, you sinner. You bungled up. No chance for you. If this was true, then Jagai, Madai, Saint Augustine, Ratnakar, Angulimal. I love Saint Augustine's prayers. One of them, Lord, grant me chastity, but not yet. See, this is a wonderful journey. It is not becoming very serious and strained and mentally, that's not how one goes to God, like a shriveled, tied up, knotted flower. One goes to Him opening like this. That's how. You don't put a flower in all kinds of ropes and say, it's for you, Lord. You say, God. You open it, blossom it. So through contact with the world, the teguments, that's how Sri Aurobindo says, that the Shastra is hidden in the heart. It opens slowly or swiftly through each and every experience. Every experience, there is a prayer of the mother. Whether we call it good or call it bad, helps in breaking something of the hard crust and the tegument of the soul. That's how all life becomes yoga. It does it even otherwise. But if you are conscious, it'll be so much better. Aspiration, then, not only it supports, it's much swifter. Many things we don't have to go again and again. That's the difference. Even in ordinary life, yoga is going on, subconscious yoga is going on through lives. That's how we are getting ready. But the conscious yoga is when now you are on a fast trail. So this escaping from life and yoga as an escape, then evolution remains half finished. You may do it, you may discover deep within that there is in us a part which is unsullied, pure, but what's the point of that? It always was there. It's not a discovery. You go back to the divine and say, I have discovered that I am you. He says, idiot, I knew that. There's a reason, there is a work to do. What did you do for his purpose in the stars? All this journey at the end you are coming back. So the journey doesn't get over just by self-realization. Journey gets further. The next step of the journey is self-manifestation, but with a capital S. Now, till now, we have lived in life, worked, acted on the basis of the ego. So the self-manifestation is with a small s. And then when we discover the divine, that's why it is so important. Being is becoming. To discover what we are within, that will flow in our actions, speech. Then this idea that I should do this, I should do that, I should behave this way, behave that way, drops off. That's how one becomes a Jivan Mukta. Because one flows with the breath of the divine. As Sri Aurobindo says, I am not a Bhakta, I am not a Jnani. Who am I then? I am a leaf driven by the breath of the Lord. That is the grand culmination of the journey, and many more things which will come subsequently. I'll stop here. I have been wanting 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes as questions. Please feel free to ask till I think Asmukh Bhai's one of the favorite lines, this is the sailor on the flow of time. This is world matters, slow discoverer. So this in Savitri, in Secret Knowledge, we have a full description of the soul's journey. But in a very beautiful way that, the body is the ship and the sailor is the soul within and the sea of time through which it moves. This image of the Rath is there in the Gita, but this is a much more perfect image. And that's how it goes. When the ship breaks, the sailor goes on to another ship, goes through challenges, the turbulences, the storms, the beautiful isles. A travel of Odysseus is, those who have read Homer's Odysseus, you'll see the same journey. Sindbad's travels, all these travels were ways of describing this inner journey of the soul in very beautiful stories, way of stories.